Pat Forde's set to join us here. He covers college football, college basketball for Sports Illustrated. Senior writer there. He joins us from Louisville. Good morning. How are you, Pat?
Morning. Unlike Kyler Murray, I will not no comment you.
Okay, awesome. I just brought up this great recruit, Monty Bates, out of Michigan. He's a sophomore, and I'm wondering, can a shoe company lock him up now as a sophomore in high school?
Depending what the Michigan high school basketball rules are, maybe, certainly under the table they can, as they have been doing for the last couple of decades. But if you want to give him the $50 million contract, then you'd have to go above board there. And now that's the thing. If this prep school that he's going to is not going to play by Michigan High School Athletic Association rules, might be a whole different deal. You might be able to throw the money on the table for him now. And then the next question is name, image, and likeness. If he's going to go to Michigan State, if the 2% chance actually happens, what could he accept via name, image, and likeness, and what could he not accept?
Oh, I don't think he's going to end up at Michigan State. Man, his dad started this prep school, so his dad's his coach there. If I'm Nike, is Michigan State a Nike school?
Yes.
I believe. Okay, so if I'm Nike, why don't I just put his parents on payroll as consultants and pay them, $50 million over the next 5 years?
Well, I guarantee they're already on payroll as consultants. The question is, how much versus, a straight out monster deal directly to their son. But there's no doubt that Nike was paying them for the Bates fundamentals team that they had in the AAU circuit the last couple of years. And they will pay for this prep school, the consulting fee there. And then eventually, the big money's coming again. I just don't know whether they're ready, to give a 16-year-old $50 million. If it were me, I'd wait until he's like 18 and I've seen his progression continue the way it's been.
I mentioned the Ivy League is pondering the idea of spring football. And I don't know where we're going to be in the spring and how different it's going to be in the fall, but your thoughts on the Ivy League doing this?
Well, I'd say pay attention, because remember, they were the first ones to cancel on basketball, and everybody thought, oh my gosh, that's extreme. They're overreacting. No, they were right. They were ahead of everybody else. And I think people will pay attention to what they're doing around college sports. Nobody wants to go to spring, but it's a possible safety net. I think there's more and more people that are open to it now than they were a month ago. And I think that, gosh, we've kind of kept kicking the can down the road, Dan, for a few weeks now. Let's wait till July 1st. We're getting close to July 1st. Doesn't look very good. We better wait till July 15th. But I think there will be serious discussions in the next couple of weeks about what do we do if we just don't think that we can safely bring back players, bring back students, have college as normal in the fall. Maybe we do look at a spring.
Boomer Esiason, the former NFL quarterback, works for CBS. He has a morning show in New York on WFAN. He floated out the idea or possibility that maybe all of these kids are testing positive, and that might be more strategic at the the high level in college football. Your thoughts on that?
It would not completely shock me, especially like Clemson, where I don't think Dabo Swinney is the guy that's running around saying we really need to respect the virus. I think it's more the other way around. So he might be saying, let's get it all out of the way now, as opposed to having 8 guys test positive the week we play Notre Dame and not be able to play them. That's a very risky approach, obviously. If you talk to infectious disease experts and health experts, they're going to say, no, this is really not a very good idea. Not, being able to ensure that all health side effects of this are going to be minor and everybody's going to come back and be perfectly fine, and you're not going to spread it to coaches and support personnel and eventually professors and all that sort of thing. So it would be a very risky strategy, but would it shock me completely? No, it would not.
Philip Fulmer, the athletic director of Tennessee, is planning on 100,000 fans for football games in the fall.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the under on that, Pat. I'm taking the under.
You know what? You take the under even in full health, because they haven't been filling that place lately.
Well, this recruiting class, though, they got a good recruiting class here.
That's right. They just got another 3-star out of Stone Mountain, Georgia. Look out. No, they're not going to have 100,000. Nobody's going to have 100,000. So, things would have to change so radically. And I know this has changed significantly as we've gone along, but for the next 2 months, things would have to just absolutely turn on a dime. And right now we're going the other direction from that. So maybe if you're very lucky, you play football and then you get 20, 30, 40,000 in there.
You have a radical realignment plan for college football?
I do.
You want to explain it? Give me the Cliff Notes version here.
Yeah, the new FBS, the 40 bowl subdivision. Basically, every conference is fractured. You remake them as 10 12-team conferences, 120 teams total. You kick out 11. You bring in North Dakota State. You move them up. Every one of the 10 conference champions gets an automatic bid to a 12-team playoff. You add 2 at-large teams. You play four teams get a bye. 8 teams play on college campuses, first round. Quarterfinals on college campuses, then semis and championship as normal. And you basically, you are much more regionally oriented here. You know, instead of having West Virginia going to Lubbock and vice versa, the conferences are much more aligned so that student athletes don't have to travel as far and schools don't have to pay as much to do the traveling.
What kind of reaction have you gotten?
Some people love it. Some people hate it. Generally, if you are an establishmentarian and you've already got everything going your way,
yeah.
Like Notre Dame doesn't want to be in a conference. Notre Dame hates the fact that I want to put them in a conference. Florida and Georgia do not want to be in a conference with Florida Atlantic and Georgia Southern, but in my deal, they are. Now, if you're Georgia Southern, you're like, yeah, bring it on. Bring the dogs down to Statesboro. Let's play them. So it just kind of depends on your point of view.
Who would USC be in with?
USC would be in the West Coast Conference, which would be most of the Pac-12, plus you're kicking out Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado, and you're putting in like San Diego State, Fresno State, Hawaii, and Nevada. They would be the literal 12 westernmost schools that play FBS.
Yeah, I wondered if we would get to the point where that we would have the Power Five, and you would just leave it at that. And you just say, let's secede from the union here, and we have our own college football program. You have a commissioner, 5 12-team conferences.
Yep.
And maybe have an 8-team or 10-team playoff. What do you think about that proposal?
Well, that's more likely than my proposal. It is that because the big guys don't want to share. So they're, if they don't have to, they're not going to. And yeah, they'd probably just as soon separate from the American Athletic Conference and the the Mountain West and the MAC and all that. But still, the one thing they don't want, they want to take the NCAA structure with them so that somebody is in charge of hosting championships and putting them on, and somebody is in charge of being the bad guy, because none of them want to be the bad guy. They don't want to police anything. They'd rather have the NCAA do it ineffectively and then blame them for being ineffective. So the NCAA does exist for a reason, but the Power Five breaking away is more likely, unfortunately, than my superior plan.
How's morale?
Good enough. Good enough. Keep it going. Let's just one day at a time, and let's see what we can possibly get to by the time school starts.
What's the first game that you're scheduled to go to?
I am not scheduled right now for anything. I went to the Belmont Stakes, and that is all I have on my plate. We've got a meeting later this week to kind of see where we're going to get, if we're going to go to games. But we'll go from there. I would imagine, the Kentucky Derby is on Labor Day weekend, so I would cover that. But I would probably be at football games that Thursday and maybe even Monday, that Labor Day, if there are football games and we deem it safe to travel.
I got a book for you when it comes out. Wright Thompson wrote it, and it's about Pappy Van Winkle. It's about horse racing and Pappy Van Winkle, and I got an advanced copy and read it. It's wonderful. I mean, because Wright Thompson he's not one of the best sports writers. He's one of the best writers out there. And I figured that you being in Louisville, you'd have great appreciation for that. And maybe you've had Pappy Van Winkle before.
I have had some Pappy cross my lips. So you combine Wright and Pappy and that bring on the book. I'll take it. And the Derby.
Thank you, Pat. Good to talk to you. And we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
It's Pat Forde, Sports Illustrated senior writer.